right, looks like we're a go. We're live on Facebook and the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, great. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting. This is a meeting of the Human Resources, Human Rights Committee. So I would like to call to order this meeting on Wednesday, November the 18th. And we're here to discuss Ordinance 24.101.20, which is an ordinance amending paragraph 1 of section 48-17 of the Article 2 of chapter 48 of the Code of the City of Albany, increasing the minority and women labor utilization plan for contracts from 17.8% to 25%. Tonight, I have committee members present. I have Councilmember Johnson, also Councilmember Flynn here. Oh no, Councilmember Conti, myself, as committee members who are present. Also, we have Ms. Andrea Richard, who is a compliance coordinator from the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity. Also, we have Councilwoman Joyce Love present, and also Councilmember Alfredo Bellerin. Okay, did I miss anybody? Oh, we have our staff, Ms. Jaya Jalipsy, and also Ms. Michelle Andre, our senior legislative aide. Did I miss anybody? No? Okay, so we can go ahead and get started with the meeting. I will turn it over to one of the prime sponsors of this legislation, Councilman Alfredo Bellerin. I'll turn it over to him for an overview and introduction of the piece of legislation. And then I will turn it over to Ms. Andrea Richard, just to kind of give us an overview of the current utilization plan and how it's currently working for the city as it stands. So, and anything else you want to offer as well. And then council members for questions. Okay.
I'll be brief. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank the staff. When we looked at this, we looked at two parts. One part is the 7.5%, which is the total amount of dollars going to contracts for women and minority-owned business. And then the second part was the 17.8%, which is the amount of labor. The 7.5% is a policy issue. That is something the administration, I'm eager and optimistic that they will look into and hopefully bring up as well to a more competitive number. But the 17.8% is a policy that is legislative. So I am glad that we've got a good team who looked into this. Our city, currently our city has had good numbers. So this is a reachable goal. It's not going to be a situation where we're going to find too many vendors looking to request waivers from this provision. And that's why we're at this number. We want it to be a goal that is achievable. We want it to be a goal that gets achieved, and then we can look at make it even greater once we get to that number. Outside of that, I also think it's important as our demographics is changing in our city. I think it's important that when people see who's working on these contracts, they see people that look like them, that they see an opportunity or an opening as maybe they can get a position in these companies. And it just to me, it just makes sense. And I'm glad we have strong support for it. And I know that there was a request for an amendment to have it start January 1st, 2021. As long as the other prime sponsors are okay with that, I'm okay with having that start January 1st, 2021. It's not that far away. And if it makes it a smoother process to be able to administrate, I think I'm more than flexible with that. And with that, I'll allow the staff to speak more about the program and what our numbers are.
Okay, I just want to quickly note for the record that Councilwoman Jenny, committee member and Councilwoman Jenny Farrell has joined us, and also Councilmember Jack, committee member Jack.
Sorry, I should have, I thought you said my name in the beginning. I was here since the beginning.
Okay, sorry. Okay, it's Richard, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, hi, everybody. So I support this goal increase. So mainly I'm here to answer any questions you might have. In 2019, we achieved a goal of 25.83% minority and women labor participation on completed projects. So, you know, so we surpassed the current goal of 17.9%. So, or 17.8% rather. So I think 25% is in the right ballpark. That's not to say that there weren't some contracts that failed to meet even the current goal of 17.8%. You know, it's an aggregate figure, so there were some contracts that were below that, but the majority did achieve it. So I think it's a great idea to raise the goal. I recommended in my annual report that we raise the subcontractor participation goal because that one was really handily met. You know, we were really surpassing that quite a bit. So that was the one that I specifically mentioned in my annual report. What else? I don't know. Yes, I'm in favor of the start date of January 1st. I think that would be better than just having it effective immediately. Gives us time to, you know, adjust our paperwork and to notify the contractors that would be affected. And so I think it's better to be able to say, you know, there's this date in the future where this changes, rather than just it's already changed.
I just want to add to Andrea's notes just in terms of implementation that there are many multi-year contracts that are already in progress, especially some of the big public works projects, and they would, in their contract is written the old goal, so we would make this effective for any new incoming contract or any adjustments to contract. And then there was the internal policy, so this is about the labor participation, but that internal policy where we had a 7.5 participation goal, we are increasing that internal goal as well to 15% effective January 1st. So we're going to be sending that out to all of our management.
And do forgive me, Ms. Anne Marie, I forgot to recognize you, the Deputy of Administrative Services. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, so I do have just a point of clarification for individuals who may not know the difference between the MWBE policy or and then the MW utilization plan. So can you just kind of give the difference between the two?
Sure. So the MWBE goal, the one that's currently 7.5%, that has to do with subcontractors on these projects. So currently, the 7.5% of the total value of a construction project needs to be paid out to MWBE, minority or women-owned businesses, for subcontracts. Whereas the labor goal has to do with the percentage of labor hours worked on these projects. You know, so again, it's currently 17.8% of the total labor hours worked on the project. You know, it needs to be worked by minority or women labor. Now, all of the subcontractors, their labor force goes into those numbers as well. So it's not just the prime contractor, but it's, everyone that's working on the project.
Okay, great. And then what happens when a contractor is unable to meet the goal? Can you give a little background on that?
So they need to submit a waiver request. They need to explain, in detail the reasons why they didn't meet the goal, and they need to show their efforts to meet it. Again, I mean, for the most part, people do manage to meet it, or they come very close. So I imagine with the goal increasing, there's going to be a period of adjustment where there will be more, waiver requests submitted. That's my guess. But I think it's right to raise the goal and just always be working towards better participation levels. So, I mean, I sort of anticipate having more waiver requests, but, they're not granted lightly. And, I do monitor all along throughout the course of the work. So I have lots of opportunities to say to the contractors, it looks like you're falling short, what can be done to remedy this situation. And if there is a contractor who does come up short in the end, in the final analysis, when the project is completed, if they're awarded a bid in the future, then I bring that up with them, that the last time they did work for the city, they fell short of this goal. So that's basically the procedure.
Okay, I'll turn it over to committee members for questions. Mr. Conti?
Thank you. Just curious, this would apply to city contracts. What are the current standards or requirements for state contracts?
Do you mean projects that get state funding?
Correct.
Yeah, it depends on the funding source. For example, a lot of water department projects have EFC funding, Environmental Facilities Corp. And it depends, the goals there's more of a range of goals, but the MWBE goals for EFC funded projects are anywhere from 20% to 30%, somewhere in there, usually more like 26. In terms of the labor goals, to be honest, the state doesn't follow those very closely. They ask for reporting, but they don't monitor it. As far as I can tell, they don't monitor it too much. So I really, when it comes to state funded projects, on the subcontractor side, I'm really working to get our contractors to adhere to the requirements of the state. Whereas on the labor side, I'm really enforcing the city goal, because the state they're not terribly diligent about that, it seems to me.
Okay. I'm just curious where 17.8% came from. It's kind of an odd number.
I have no
Maybe
idea.
It's been in there for a while. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not 17.895? I don't know.
Seems like it's been there for a while. I don't know.
Okay, but these setting it at 25 is something you feel comfortable we can achieve, and that it looks like we have actually been achieving that.
Yeah. I mean, I think Alfredo had originally suggested 30%. Do I have that right, Alfredo?
Originally, the original conversation, we were looking to raise the 7.5 to 15. That was the original conversation, but we were told that that's a policy.
And it sounds like you're doing that anyway, though.
Yeah, so I'm very excited that that's getting done as well. Because that's, we're addressing both issues, the contract issue where contracts are being given to businesses, but we're also addressing the labor issue where the
Right.
people who are working on the projects.
Okay,
And the EFC is between 20 and 32%.
okay.
But the EFC ranges are.
So it seems within the same range, but, I mean, as long
Yeah.
as,
Just to answer your
It's
question.
more aggressive.
yeah,
In terms of the labor goal, the 25%. So yeah, I think, we did, compromise a little bit because I didn't think we should jump all the way up to 30. I just felt like there would be a lot of shortfall and, I think it's better to do it incrementally. If we have no problem achieving the 25%, practically across the board, then I think we could jump it up again sometime. I definitely don't think it should just be left the same for a decade, like it has been. So,
great. Thanks. Thank you.
yeah.
And I also want to note for the record that Councilwoman Sonia Frederick has joined us as well. Okay, any other committee members with questions? Okay.
Jamel, I have a question, Jamel.
Mhm.
I'm concerned about the subcontracts. Can you tell me if a contract does not have the amount of allocated, they then can rebid again? Is that what you said for another contract?
Yes, they can.
Is there a
You're-
point where we stop that if they don't do it 2 times or 3 times?
So to my knowledge, I don't think that a bidder has been rejected on MWBE grounds. It's more a question for Corporation Counsel. I can't be certain about that.
Okay.
Since I've been in this position, it hasn't happened, and I don't think that's normally how it goes. I think they just normally sort of get pressured essentially by me, because of their poor performance in the past. I pressure them to do better next time around. But I don't think that they would be rejected if they're the lowest bidder. I don't think
Is there
so.
is there like 1 or 2 businesses that consistently do this, or would you say no?
I'd have to look back.
Okay.
I've been in this position for about 2 years. So, there's not too much of a pattern that I've been able to observe yet. There maybe if I looked back over the records, I could find a pattern, but
Nothing that's out there.
nothing that jumps out at me.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilwoman Love.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. I forgot her name just that quick. Amy?
Andrea.
Andrea. Hi. So my question is, how many contractors have already met 25%? We're talking about, we're raising it from 17 point something to 25. Have those contractors that already met 25 already? And that's why you want to bring it to 25? I know Alfredo wanted to do 30. I mean, am I making sense?
So, I mean, there's a range, there are some small projects that happen within the city, like ACDA projects where, they're at 100%. I mean, everybody that works for the company is minority or woman labor. So, there's cases like that. Then there's cases where, I don't know what, it's an electrical contractor and, they have one minority employee and, they, I ask them to put that person on the city contract, but, they aren't always able to, there's a big range, So, but because the aggregate figure that we met in 2019 was 25%, I think that that's probably the right goal for right now. Like I said, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it getting raised sometime in the future, but I think maybe a couple of steps towards a higher goal would make sense. Does that answer
Okay.
your question?
Yeah, that answers my question. It sure does. Thank you.
Now, Andrew, I do have another question. Now, do you know, or would you have this information about the amount of people on these contracts that work in the city? I mean, are from the city of Albany who work on these contracts, or are it's kind of up to the contractor to their current workforce?
Yeah, I don't have information on that. I mean, I can see why that would be relevant, but you know, the contractors, they can be from all over. I mean, we get bidders from all over, and you know, we even have companies on our MWBE list that are not, you know, within the city of Albany. I mean, any company can apply to be a city of Albany certified MWBE, so they can get work with the city. Yeah, I mean, one hopes that this trickles down and affects, you know, our community, the members of our community, for sure. But I don't have statistics on that.
Okay, thank you. Council, I just want to make sure I'm getting everything. Councilman Johnson and then Councilman Valerian.
Good evening. I just would like to follow up on Councilwoman Love's question. The answer, she said it made sense, and I just would like for her to expand on why it made sense, if she could explain her answer, because I didn't follow it like Councilwoman Love did. So could she explain why it made sense to delay raising the increases?
You want Councilwoman Love to explain, or?
Oh, Andrea.
Okay.
I wanted her to explain her answer because she said her answer made sense, but I was just trying to follow it and why she felt it made sense to do the increases gradually.
Well, I think that, you know, 17.8% up to say 30%, you know, it's a big increase, and you're going to get a lot of non-compliance, probably initially, because this labor goal has to do with basically the workforce that a contractor has employed. I mean, you're basically asking them to, you know, change, you know, the people that they have hired or that they're putting on the city contracts. You know, it's not something that can be done instantly. I don't know, to me, it makes sense to, rather than have a lot of non-compliance, you know, getting reported, you know, a lot of people applying for waivers. I mean, I don't like to grant waivers because I feel like it makes the law seem toothless. You know, I mean, if it's just like a contractor, you know, can't meet the goal, and so then they apply for a waiver and it gets granted, then I think if that happens a lot, then the contractors start to think, oh, you know, this doesn't really matter, you know, you just file a waiver request. So I think it's better to have a goal that they are meeting, or that it's attainable to them very soon, you know, if they make some adjustments to their workforce, and then increase it again, you know, down the line a little bit. For me, I would rather see that than have a lot of contractors applying for waivers, and there's not too much, you know, for me to do other than to just, grant them the waiver if they have good reasons, because, you know, they're on the job, they're doing the work, and there's a lot of other players involved. You know, MWBE isn't the only consideration. So, yeah. So does that make sense? I don't know.
I'll say yes. Thank you. I'll say yes.
You know, I just don't like a lot of waivers to be granted out there. It feels like, you know, it starts to make it seem like they don't actually have to meet the goal. That's my concern anyway.
And I guess the reason why I'm getting at is because our workforce is supposed to be developed continuously through the what is it down on Green Street, the Wage Center, and it's supposed to be creating community residents that could apply for these jobs, and that hasn't been happening for years. And maybe I think if we put pressure on the contractors to be able to meet those goals, they would, you know, things will be taken a little bit more serious, and you know, we can have changes, and our community members can start seeing community members participating in these jobs, and not people coming from outside of their community continuously getting those jobs. So,
You know,
anything
I would be happy to connect certain individuals, you know, say from the Wage Center with the contractors. I don't know the legality of this. Maybe it's a question for law, but I mean, I would be happy to try to make those connections so that maybe they stand a better chance of getting hired by contractors for the city. Maybe something like that could be arranged. You know, I'm not sure what the mechanism would be or how it would work, but I'd be really happy to try to connect people with opportunities.
again, thank you. That's you know, I understand it better now.
Thank you. Councilman Blair?
Yes, I just want to echo some of the statements that have already been made. You know, when we started this process, the question that was asked was, can't we make it so that contractors have to hire more people from the city? That was the original question. And what corporate counsel explained was that that's against the law, that you can't do that. That's not how you can write up RFPs. That's not how you can write up bids. So once we found that was something that we couldn't do, then we looked at what other options do we have to do exactly what Councilmember Johnson is speaking about, to put more pressure so that more of these contracts are going to individuals that are hiring people, you know, that look more like the city's population and hopefully are also living in the city. You know, I'm a big believer in trying to, you know, maximize as much of your resources as you have to bring it and to keep it local as best as possible. I think this is a really good policy because we get 2 in 1. We get the 7.5 going up to 15%, which is a 100% increase in that number, which again, I applaud the administration, I applaud your office for moving forward in that direction, and I thank you for doing that. And we also get roughly a little less than 30% increase in the workforce numbers as well. So it's significant. It puts more pressure on those contractors. It will continue to put pressure on them to meet those numbers, as well as once we get them to meet the numbers, like I've said, and they're already meeting them, but once we have them consistently getting them to meet their numbers, we can go back and look again and see what else we can do to continue to keep that pressure on. And the goal is that hopefully some of these contractors will, hire many of our residents that are in the field and are looking for an opportunity.
Okay, Councilwoman Frederick, and then Councilman Jack Flynn.
Thank you. I just have a quick question about the waiver process. So Andrea, is there a certain set of guidelines or standards that you follow in granting those waivers? For example, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, if it's a 1 to 2 man shop, right, and they might not meet the requirement, that could be something I could think about being acceptable. But outside of like some of those standard reasons about like workforce potentially having like not as many people, I can't really conjure why people wouldn't meet the requirement, because we do have such a diverse population here in Albany. So I'm just wondering if there's any like standard guidelines you follow to grant those waivers, or what goes into that process.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the waiver process is, they fill out a form and then they submit a letter of explanation. And so, basically it's a situation where, I try to get that looking as complete as possible. I ask them questions and I hope that they, will submit something as detailed as I'd like, but in reality, they're not actually going to lose the contract over it. I mean, I don't want to say that to them, necessarily. I mean, but so the fact is that, it's all just, it's pressure. It's like, it's bringing attention to the issue and letting them know that, other people see the statistics. I bring up the Common Council, for example, when I'm talking to contractors, and I tell them that, I report to the Common Council, and, their project with their name comes out in the report and shows, their participation level. So, I just sort of basically, pressure them to do better. But
I was also going to mention that we can remove them from our approved MWBE contractors list if they consistently don't meet the standards. And I don't know everything about it, but I believe, Andrea, you have removed contractors before for repeatedly not meeting goals and taken them off the list. So there is that mechanism too.
Well, for the labor goal, it's, I don't know if anybody's been removed from the list for not meeting the labor requirement. I mean, I guess my sense is that generally what the contractors will say, is that, they didn't get, they're not getting applicants, that they can hire, that's basically what they say. They say they're looking, they're trying to diversify their workforce, but they, or they say, well, we have, some diversity in our workforce, but those people are currently on another job, so, they have reasons, but I'm not going to say that, I love the reasons, generally. But I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. It's helpful to know the process.
Well, to follow up that, I think we may have to legislate stuff to remove people for if they're not complying to these rules. That's just my personal opinion. But that's my original question was, do you have the percentage of MWBEs that are outside of the city? Andrea?
I could easily find that, that there's but what we're talking about when we talk about the labor is not
Right.
actually the certified MWBEs. It's any contractor that is doing a project for the city. So some are MWBEs and some aren't. The ones that are MWBEs, they usually have subcontracts. They're not the prime contractor, and they also usually have more minority and women So it's not very likely that someone would be removed from the list for that reason. What I guess you might be asking is, could they be essentially, banned or flagged or something so that they wouldn't get a contract in the future? And that's not really in my control, because I believe there are legal reasons why, if they're the low bidder, my role is more like I deal with whoever does get the contract, and I interface with them and try to get them up to compliance and encourage them to comply. I don't really have the power to reject a bidder on this basis. And I think there's legal reasons. It's more a question for law, but I think there's the low bidder pretty much has to get it in most cases.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other council members with questions? No? Okay. Let's see. So did we want to, Councilwoman Bell?
I'd love to make a motion to pass it through the committee with a positive recommendation.
I second it.
Okay.
Is this with the change in the effective date?
Oh, yes, as amended with the change in the effective date to January 1st, 2021.
Okay.
Richard.
Okay. So I will now entertain a motion to put this forward with a positive recommendation. So Councilwoman Farrell made the motion, and
I'll second it.
Excellent, second the motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay. And the motion passes as amended. Okay.
And I would just thank Councilmember Ballerin for bringing it up and putting this forward.
Yes, it is a great piece of legislation. And Councilman Johnson, did you have something to say? I didn't hear you. Okay.
Can I be a co-sponsor, Michelle, please?
A prime sponsor or co-sponsor?
Prime sponsor is fine, as long as the sponsors allow me to.
And if so, I'd be happy to be added also.
Okay.
Same.
Chair, Councilwoman Frederick has her hand up. I'm not sure if she has a question for you or was trying to get your attention.
I was just saying, likewise, if I could be added as prime sponsor, if the prime sponsors allow.
Are we changing the approve as to form date to today's date since it was amended?
I will lean on Councilmember Conti's expertise.
Well, you can check with the law department. I don't think you need to do that.
Okay.
You're only changing the effective date, so.
Will do.
Yep. Okay, and just publicly, I would like to note that Miss Jenny Farrell's son has been inducted into the Honor Society.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, he told me about half an hour before the ceremony, which was this evening, because he didn't think it was a big deal. It's a big deal. So I'm very proud of him. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's great. Okay, so I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you so much, Andrea, for being here, and also Ms. Anne Marie for being here, and all of the council members for attending the meeting this evening. But if nothing else, I'll
Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.